And this is another episode of Athletics Talk Now. My name is Dale Tafoya, and it is Thursday, June 27th, 2013, and this is podcast number 112. We want to welcome you, A's fans around the world, listening on YouTube, iTunes, our RSS feed, and our website, which is athleticstalknow.com. We're a podcast and blog that celebrates the past and embraces the future of A's baseball. And yesterday, we appropriately had Dave Stewart open the week. And today, A's great and Hall of Fame closer Dennis Eckersley will be closing it with a bang. Dennis, right off the bat, lots of news during the last few weeks about a sewage flood in the Oakland Coliseum, where you played for many years. The A's, of course, are winning on the field. But off the field, they have an owner who doesn't want to build in Oakland, and at this point is not being allowed to move to San Jose. You were born in Oakland, and the A's have played at the Coliseum for 45 years. What's your take on your former team's stadium dilemma?
I don't know the particulars, so I would hate to, just say whatever. I know that they've been trying, and I know that they seem like they came close a few years back almost to go to Fremont. So I know It's been difficult. I know the Giants have given them a lot of trouble. But the stadium, it speaks for itself. I mean, the fans will come, like last year they won, and they will come, but it's just the accommodations there for, now in the clubhouses is kind of a joke, and I think everybody would like to go. I don't know, how the fans feel about it. I would assume that they would like to go, but, it's difficult. But the most important thing is they've been winning, so you can get over it a lot easier when you're winning.
Sure. And looking back on your career, Dennis, you and Dave Stewart had similar journeys in that both of you came to Oakland sort of limping, he in 86 and you in 1987. What made your Hall of Fame career take off in Oakland and make you one of the greatest closers of all time?
I'll tell you what, it's timing, it's opportunity, it's at the right time. When I was in Chicago, my velocity was down. I was at the end of my starting pitching. I didn't think so at the time, but then when I got to Oakland, I just sort of found my way. Started in the bullpen. Things happened. Physically, I rebounded, and then I got the opportunity. Somebody got hurt. Jay Howell, who was closing at the time, got hurt, and the opportunity was there, and I took off. And then along with that was the ground floor of a great, sort of a mini dynasty, with Tony and Dunk and great starting pitching, obviously the Bash brothers and what have you. So I just, I had an opportunity, and it's just, I sort of fell into it.
And during your career, Tony La Russa in particular, Dennis, talked about you being afraid to fail and how being afraid to fail contributed to your success. Talk about how that translated into you becoming one of the greats, Dennis.
I took that out to the mound all the time, and I had sort of like a chip on my shoulder, but ultimately, you can't sustain it, but, every time I went out there, it was like life and death. I didn't want to lose. I wanted to do the best I could do. I'm sure a lot of guys do, but you talk about failure. Nobody wants to fail.
Sure.
But to me, that's a complete motivator. It's like, especially with a team counting on you, and that, when you have that type of job. And it worked for me. It wasn't like I was 20 years old. I've been around the block. So the fear thing worked for me. And, there's a lot of pressure out there. So regardless whether people acknowledge that there's a fear, it's there, and it's real, but it worked for me.
Mm-hmm. Dennis, we have a question via Twitter from the Twitter fandom Fake Ray Fosse, actually. This is an interesting question. Dennis, who was your favorite catcher to throw to in your career?
Wow. The easiest answer probably would be Carlton Fisk. He was a Hall of Famer, but I had success with quite a few catchers. With Fosse, I was with him for a year in Cleveland when I was young and to a no-hitter with him. So I learned a lot from having a veteran catcher early in my career, and then continued after that to Carlton Fisk. And, you go along the ways. And then when I got to Oakland, Terry Steinbach was just he was a rookie in '87, so he was, it was early on for him. And I saw him turn into a really great starting catcher. So, I mean, but that's just one piece. I think you acknowledge your catcher more when you have to go 9 innings. So,
Right.
It's probably Fisk.
Fisk. And of course, Dennis, you played under one of the most intense managers ever, Tony La Russa. And talking about managers, Bob Melvin here in Oakland has really rejuvenated this club since taking over for Bob Guerin in 2011. As a former player, Dennis, from your perspective, how much can a manager make a difference in the win-loss column?
Well, I think I think if you think that just because you have a good team that you're going to win. I mean, the manager has to conduct and orchestrate the whole thing on a daily basis. I think you could just mess it up if you're not a good manager. I think Tony enhanced a lot of people's careers. I mean, he knew when to put people in, like they always say, in a positive chance to for an outcome. In other words, you put guys in situations where they're going to, produce. And not only that, the grind. The team reflects the manager when the way he goes about business. And Tony every day was a grinder. And I mean, I think that sort of passed along to the players that the manager is one step ahead, and I think it just makes, not that the players don't grind every day, but when your manager's grinding, it sort of just spills over into the team, and that's a reflection of the manager on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. And talking about those late great A's teams of the 80s and the early 90s, and you hear the word chemistry thrown out a lot out there, Dennis. Talk about that team's chemistry, because you can have talent, but you have to have chemistry in the field and chemistry in the clubhouse. What type of chemistry do those teams have, and who are the key characters in that cog?
Like I said, the grind. The manager's the grinder, the guy every day, every inning, every pitch, and then you have a player that represents that, and that's Carney Lansford. He was just a tough grinder. And he was the captain of the team. And beyond that, normally a starting pitcher wouldn't be, but Dave Stewart had a lot to do with it. He was he had a lot to do with keeping everybody like a team. Going out together. Everybody was involved with one another. I mean, not everybody liked each other. No team does. But you had a starting pitcher like Dave that was involved in a lot of the team spirit concept, and then on a daily basis, Carney every day grinding it out. So those two guys stood out to me.
Mm-hmm. And 20 years later, Dennis, how bittersweet is it to know back then you had one of the most talented teams in all of baseball in 88, 89, 90, and to only win one World Series championship. And if you don't consider those great teams a dynasty, how would you characterize that era in Oakland?
I think everybody knew that we were the best in the game, for that three-year period of time. And at the time, we were upset because we got, swept by Cincinnati in '90, and then the big deal with losing to L.A. in '88 was a killer, with the Gibson thing, and that was a crusher. So, but looking back now, I'm just glad we won one, because it's not that easy. The best team doesn't always win. I mean, and you see how the playoffs are now. They're just one more layer, so it's that much tougher. And a good pitcher can always beat you.
Sure.
Like what happened in '88 with Hershiser and Rio in '90 with Cincinnati. So I'll tell you what, I'm just glad we won one, because it would have been really disappointing if we didn't. And I only won one championship in 24 years, so I'm grateful at this point.
And you're also a Hall of Famer, and you were elected in the Baseball Hall of Fame in 2004. Since your induction, Dennis, and reflecting on the performance-enhancing drug era, how, as a Hall of Famer now, how more protective are you of who enters that hall?
Well, that is really, to say the least, a very difficult situation, and I think the writers handled it, and they sort of showed what they thought this last voting this past year, not letting anybody in So they made their statement. And, as far as the Hall of Famers are concerned, I think they feel the same way overall. And at some point, it's going to come to a head. Is somebody in there already that's done it? Who knows? But going forward, you would think somebody will get in at some point, and then you'll go from there. But as it stands right now, I don't think anybody should get in that have done, that known to have done it. But so you don't know who and who did and who didn't. That's the tough part.
Sure, and of course on your plaque you're wearing an A's hat, and I know many A's fans are proud of that on your Hall of Fame plaque. What's it like walking around knowing you are a member of the Baseball Hall of Fame? Is that into your mind every day when you walk around in life?
It's not like I'm walking around with my chest puffed out.
I know, but
you know what I mean.
It has to be a good
I'm
feeling.
very proud. Yeah, I'm very proud of it, because I know how difficult it is to get in. But what I'm more proud of is having played for the A's. I come from Fremont. I feel really blessed to have done that because, not too many guys get a chance to do that with a club like we had. And, my parents used to come to the game every day. It's something that I'll never forget, to be able to share that with my parents. I mean, I know that they'll look back at that. That was a special time for them. And then you add on to it the Hall of Fame. You got to be kidding me, I never set out to go to the Hall of Fame. I just, I had this sort of a storied life, a charmed life, and I'm proud and appreciative to have done it.
How did you get into the broadcasting career? Because obviously you were a great closer. How do you enjoy it, and what made you? Because you're obviously a broadcaster for Nesson for the Red Sox station up there in Massachusetts. How's that going for you?
Because I love the game. I watch everything, especially with the packages you can get. You can see anything. I watch everything. It's just what I've done my whole life, and so there's a passion there. And then, doing it for the Red Sox is special because the people in New England really, get behind the Red Sox, as everyone knows. And so, I get uptight on TV. It's like pitching again. I get a little, a little nervous, and it makes me feel like I'm alive. So I really enjoy it. I really do. Mm-hmm. But it's not a grind like having to go on the road all the time. So that helps.
All right, you get to do it at your convenience, and it's still a job. Dennis, always a class act and great interview. Thanks for joining Athletics Talks Now.
You got it, Dale.
Take care.